You know, like, remember that whole Kanye versus Taylor Swift thing at the VMAs?
Oh, yeah.
Or like Nicki Minaj and Cardi B going back and forth?
Right, right.
It's crazy how intense these celebrity feuds can get,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes things go way beyond, just diss tracks and Twitter beef.
Oh, yeah.
Like, way beyond. Ready for this? Today we're diving into a case where the accusations are, they're chilling,
Okay.
to say the least.
All right. I'm ready.
So we're looking into the arrest of Lil Durk,
Mm-hmm.
the Grammy-winning rapper,
Hmm.
suspicion of conspiracy to commit murder for hire.
Wow.
This is serious stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And for this deep dive, we're going straight to the source.
Right.
A press release from the U.S. Department of Justice.
Okay, so we're getting the official narrative here,
Exactly.
right, from the government. But, it's important to remember that these press releases, they're not always just neutral information.
Yeah.
They're definitely crafted to present the government's case in a certain light. Yeah. Maybe even influence public opinion a bit.
So let's break down what the DOJ is claiming here. They're saying Lil Durk is allegedly the leader of this rap collective called Only the Family.
OTF.
And the DOJ is claiming that this group, it's not just about the music.
Right.
They're alleging that OTF acts like a gang, maybe even engaging in violence on Lil Durk's orders.
It's a big claim, right? To think that a music group could be involved in something this serious, criminal activity? How does that even happen? Like, how does a group, supposedly all about making music end up allegedly caught up in something so dark?
Well, the DOJ points to a really tragic incident back in 2020 as the catalyst for all of this. An associate of a rival rapper, who they're calling TB in the documents, allegedly killed Lil Durk's close friend and fellow rapper, King Von.
Oh, wow.
That's where this whole feud allegedly starts.
I see. So it's this classic cycle of gang violence, right? Like one act of violence leads to another, and then things just escalate from there. Tit for tat. The DOJ seems to be suggesting that this initial killing really triggered the chain of events that led to these charges against Lil Durk.
So fast forward to 2022.
Okay.
The DOJ claims that multiple OTF members flew out to California and stalked TB for hours near the Beverly Center in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
This culminated in a shooting at a gas station.
Oh, wow.
Where they allegedly fired 18 shots.
18 shots?
And tragically, the person who was killed wasn't actually TB. It was SR.
Oh, geez.
A family member who was with him.
So an innocent bystander.
Yeah.
Wow. That and the location too, right? The broad daylight, a busy gas station.
Right.
It makes you wonder about how much planning went into this.
Yeah.
What does it say about their regard for, for innocent people?
So how is the DOJ connecting Lil Durk to this?
Well, they're pointing to travel records.
Okay.
Several OTF members flew from Chicago to California just one day before the shooting.
And here's the thing. They're alleging that Lil Durk told them to book those flights anonymously.
That's a pretty big detail.
Yeah.
I mean, it's circumstantial, sure.
Right.
But if the prosecution can really place those individuals at the scene, or even Lil Durk, involved in the planning, that could be very damaging.
And the DOJ is not stopping there. They're also bringing in Lil Durk's associate, Kavon London Grant, also called Cuz or Vonnie in these documents. And he allegedly used a credit card in Lil Durk's name to buy ski masks for the shooters and a hotel room.
So that's getting even more and more complicated for Lil Durk.
Yeah.
Right. If they can prove he knew about this, that his card was being used, that's a direct link. Hard to claim you weren't involved then.
And to add to that, Grant and 4 others were arrested in Chicago at the same time as Lil Durk, all facing charges of conspiracy, murder for hire, firearms offenses, all connected to this case.
So these simultaneous arrests are interesting, right? It kind of reinforces this narrative from the DOJ that maybe this was a larger, more organized operation, not just a one-off thing.
And then there's Lil Durk's own actions. He was arrested near Miami International Airport as he was about to board an international flight.
Now, why would he be trying to leave the country at a time like this?
Right.
I mean, it definitely looks suspicious.
Yeah.
Could be seen as an attempt to flee, Of course, he's innocent until proven guilty.
Of course.
But actions like that, they raise eyebrows.
It's a really tangled web.
Yeah.
And there are definitely a lot of unanswered questions here.
A lot of questions.
So where do we go from here?
Well, I think it's important to remember that, again, these are just allegations at this point.
Right.
Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Right.
But the charges are very serious.
Mm-hmm.
If convicted, we're talking about life in prison, potentially, for Lil Durk and his alleged co-conspirators. That's not a small thing. We're talking about potentially the rest of their lives.
It's heavy stuff.
It is.
And this whole case, it's rooted in rap rivalry, accusations of gang activity.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about how blurry the lines can get between music and real life.
Absolutely. This case forces us to confront some hard truths about the music industry, the reality of gang violence, and how the justice system handles these really complex cases.
Right.
But we have to be careful not to jump to conclusions. There's a lot more to unpack here. We need to look at all sides of the story.
Yeah, it really does, you know. This case, it really shines a light on some of those tough things, tough realities we don't really like to face.
It's true. And one of those realities, I think, is gang violence. It feels like it's a constant headline these days. This cycle of retaliation that often comes from these, seemingly small disputes.
Right.
It's heartbreaking, really.
Yeah.
It's a deep-rooted issue, wouldn't you say? I mean, we're talking about poverty, lack of opportunity, these systemic issues that have been around for generations.
Yeah.
It's about more than just, a few individuals making bad choices.
Yeah. And it's easy to say, just stay out of gangs. But I think we need to recognize that for some people, it's not that simple.
Right.
It might feel like they don't have another choice, no other way to belong, to find protection.
Right, exactly.
Or even purpose,
And that's where the music industry comes in, right?
Right.
For a lot of young people, especially in these marginalized communities, rap it's more than just entertainment.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of their lives, a way to process trauma, express anger, tell their stories.
It's real.
It is.
And it brings up that, that debate about whether some of the violent lyrics we hear contribute to real life violence.
Oh, yeah.
It's a sensitive topic for sure.
For sure.
We don't want to censor art.
Right.
But you have to acknowledge that words can have a real impact. It's finding that balance, isn't it?
Right.
Protecting freedom of speech on the one hand, artists should express themselves.
Right.
But we also have to think about the potential consequences.
Right.
And I think that's where education comes in.
Yeah.
Critical thinking.
Yeah.
Being able to consume media responsibly.
Right.
Knowing the difference between art and reality, and then making good choices.
Yeah. And then there's the question of how the justice system handles these cases.
Right.
It seems like with these high-profile cases, especially when celebrities are involved, there's a lot of scrutiny.
Yeah.
Do you think that impacts things?
There's always that risk of bias,
Yeah.
Both conscious and unconscious.
Right.
And it raises questions about whether celebrities get treated differently.
Yeah.
More leniently or more harshly than the average person.
It's a lot to consider.
It is.
In this case, it seems like there aren't any easy answers.
No.
It's about being open and honest, understanding the nuances, trying to work towards solutions that get at the root of the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Challenging our own assumptions, listening to different perspectives,
Right.
approaching these situations, wanting to learn, wanting to grow.
Yeah, yeah. This whole deep dive, it's really got me thinking about King Von.
Yeah.
Lil Durk's friend who was killed back
Yeah.
in 2020. It seemed like his death really set off this whole chain of events.
Yeah, King Von's death, that was a huge loss for the Chicago rap scene.
Yeah.
He's a rising star,
Yeah.
powerful voice. His music resonated with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
His lyrics, they often reflected that reality of his environment. But there was also this vulnerability there,
Yeah.
a realness that people connected with.
Yeah, it's a reminder that behind the headlines, behind these legal battles, there are real people whose lives are changed forever by these events. And you wonder, what if things had been different? What if there'd been a way to break the cycle of violence before it got to this point?
It's a question we should all be asking.
Yeah.
What can we do individually and together to really address the root causes of gang violence?
Yeah.
And create a world that's safer, more just.
Yeah.
It starts with understanding how complex it is, challenging our own biases, and having these tough conversations.
Yeah. So what can our listeners take away from all of this? What's the call to action here?
I think the most important thing is to stay engaged.
Okay.
This case, it reminds us that we can't avoid these difficult conversations.
We have to lean into the discomfort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do your own research, find different perspectives, and be willing to challenge what you think you know.
Yeah.
The more informed we are, the better we can be a part of positive change.
And it's not just about consuming information passively,
Right.
you know? Think critically about what you're reading and hearing. Question the stories you're being told.
And remember, this is just one case, one story.
Right.
There are so many others out there.
Yeah, so true. This deep dive has been so insightful.
Yeah.
But it's really just the tip of the iceberg.
It's a starting point, an invitation to dig deeper, to explore these issues more, and to think about how we can all be a part of building a world that's more just and equitable.
This whole thing with Lil Durk, it really gets you thinking about power, you know? Like the power dynamics in the music industry.
Yeah.
We were talking before about how rap can be this outlet for artists from these marginalized communities. But like, what happens when those artists, they hit it big?
Oh, interesting question.
Yeah, does that change things?
It's almost like a paradox, isn't it? You have this art form that comes from struggle, right? From the streets, from this place of authenticity. But as an artist gets more famous, more successful, there's this pressure to keep it real, to not go soft.
Right.
To prove you're still connected to where you came from.
And could that pressure, in some cases, I don't know, contribute to blurring the lines between, like, the artist's persona and their real life? Think about that image we see in a lot of gangster rap.
Oh, yeah.
The tough guy act, the violence, the whole us versus them thing.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
And it's important to say that not all rap is like that.
Right.
Not all artists who come from tough backgrounds end up in trouble with the law, but it's undeniable that those themes are out there, and we should talk about how they might affect both the artists and the people listening to their music.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword.
It is.
You know, this art form gives a voice to those who don't have one, exposes injustice, inequality, but it can also reinforce stereotypes, make violence seem normal.
Right, and that's where the artists and the industry have a responsibility. It's about being aware of the messages you're sending, using your platform for good, understanding that words have power.
It makes me think about us, the fans, too.
Oh, absolutely.
We have a responsibility not to just take in whatever we're given, to think for ourselves, question what we're being told, support artists who are doing good.
It's about being informed, engaged, understanding the context, the history, the complexities, looking deeper, not just the surface.
Which is what we've tried to do in this deep dive, right? We looked at the charges against Lil Durk, the whole gang violence issue, the music industry, the justice system. But this is just the start, really.
Oh, for sure.
There's so much more to explore.
And that's what makes it so interesting, right? This case, it throws up more questions than answers.
Yeah.
It makes us think critically, seek out different views, have real conversations.
Yeah.
And that's what we hope this deep dive has done for you.
I hope so.
Go out there, learn more, keep talking about it.
Absolutely. And that's it for this deep dive. We'll be back next time with another case, another story.
Until then, stay curious.